Let's kick off the questioning with taxes. Last election, voters rejected a 3 mil property tax increase. Do you support raising taxes? Why or why not? Mr. Trippi, you can go first.
It's important to be able to provide the necessary services and amenities to the city. So, as a general rule, I'm in favor of properly managing the city in a way that is fiscally responsible. I would say raising taxes is a secondary measure that can be taken to continue to provide the service levels that we need. So I'm not going to say I do not support it, but I'd say all other measures have to be handled first, such as looking into what type of budgetary actions can be taken to further improve the city.
All right, thank you. Mr. Biasiotta, would you like to go next?
Sure, thank you. On the matter of taxes, it's important to look at everything as a whole. You know, exhaust, to use Mr. Trippi's word, all other possibilities first. And one of the things you have to look at is how the expenses have been managed to date. And over the last several years, I've seen a number of reductions. The operating budget has been reduced from 10.5 to 8.5. There's only 2 full-time employees at the rec center, so I think expenses have been handled pretty good. I'm a first-time candidate, but before I came here today, these are the things I found out in doing the research. In terms of revenue, you know, there's only a couple different ways to get revenue. And you have to be careful, you know, almost half the city is over the age of 50. So you're going to balance that, you know, many people on fixed incomes, against the ability to attract new businesses. And an raise in income taxes could jeopardize that, speaking at a very high level. So what does that leave us? I think the best opportunity to increase revenue is through enhanced commercial development, bring in new businesses.
Great. Councilwoman Lecznar, your turn.
Thank you. The levy that was defeated in the last election was what we termed as the police levy, which would have been a levy that would have taken a big burden out of our general fund. Our police right now, their current budget is approximately $1.3 million. The funds that we would have raised in that tax would have helped to subsidy the rest of the general fund and would not have taken as much. That would have given us $1.3 million, approximately $1.3 million back into the general fund that we had for other services. I had the pleasure of serving with Joe's dad, and he was a very big watchdog. He made sure that money was not spent unless it was absolutely necessary, and that's one thing that I plan on doing also, is keeping the budget, keeping us on budget, and if it requires a tax levy, we've also played with the term streets levy, which would be used, the money for that would be used to redo streets. Infrastructure is extremely important, and so that's something we might want to consider down the line.
All right, great. Councilman Trafis?
Thank you. Last year, I was the only member of City Council that voted no on the property tax levy at the ballot box. I do not support a property tax levy at this point in time. This year alone, the budget that was submitted by our mayor and passed by 5 out of 7 council members spent $700,000 more than the revenue we're generating this year. Question I always get is, well, how will you fix that? What is your proposal? And for the past 3 years, I've been proposing that we restructure our income tax formula by raising our current income tax rate from 2% to 2.5%, but also adjusting our credit that we give residents from 1.1 to 1.6. And according to the Regional Income Tax Agency, that would generate roughly $600,000, which would get us close to covering that gap. And the great thing about this plan is that it does not affect people that are retired, it does not affect Social Security or pensions or anything like that. And also interesting is, if you live in Seven Hills but work in most any other community, you'd receive a slight decrease on the income tax you pay. To me, this is a no-brainer, and I think that if a new council is elected this term, next year we can implement this and actually put this on the ballot so residents can decide what they want.
Great. Now, going along with that, now you said, you know, considering your income tax right now is at 2%, so you said maybe raise it to 2.5%. Any concern that would drive away business and, you know, they would go to neighboring independents like Longbow possibly did? So any concern with that at all?
I don't have any concern, because when a company left our city. It's being replaced by another company right now. And there's been articles about this plan, and it doesn't seem to have affected this big company that's coming in.
Right, but the rate's still at 2%?
It's still at 2%, but the proposal has been out there for about 3 years.
Right.
And it hasn't affected this company from coming in.
All right, Councilwoman Lecznar, any follow-up for you?
Actually, yes, I think that would hamper any new businesses coming in when they can get Independence, which is same proximity to everything that we are proximity to, and they'd have to pay 0.5% more tax. It might not affect Matt as much, but it does affect other businesses that we're looking to bring into the city. And right now, we're doing very well with the tax base that we have.
All right, thank you. Mr. Biasiotta, any follow-up for you?
Well, I bow to Matt's experience to a degree on council, and I'm a new candidate for the ward, not at large like my fellow panelists. But at a high level, I've always been concerned about a raise in income tax jeopardizing the ability to bring in new business. The ability to bring in new business when we're sitting next to Independence, who's open for business, leaves us with only the two choices of a property tax or an income tax. So before I agree with them that we need to raise revenue to protect our services. Seven Hills is the third safest small town in Ohio. We also have excellent fire services that my family's been the recipient of, and they need to be protected at all costs. So if revenue needs to be raised, my first approach is through attracting new businesses, and that's my answer.
Great. Mr. Tripi, any follow-up for you?
Yes. In our county, in our state, I think it's very competitive to generate, to bring businesses in. I think the proposal, I have my reservations about raising the taxes, the property taxes on the community, because I think that it's important that we try to maintain lower taxes if at all possible. But I think the idea of increasing our income tax will have an adverse effect in bringing in new business. And by adversely affecting that ability, which Seven Hills, I do not necessarily feel we are in a competitive advantage. So we have to go in there and be able to present ourselves in a manner that's we have to be able to upsell ourselves and have certain things that we can go. Increasing our income tax, I think, is probably against our better interest at this time.
All right, thank you all.